From the creators of 40 Days of Past Lives and Karma and 40 Days of Self-Love comes the class you've been waiting for, an introduction to step astrology. That's right, I'm sharing some of my inside secrets on how to read a chart according to step astrology and help you interpret the stars, whether it's for yourself or for clients. Keep a lookout for us coming soon. Serious Joy Academy and Introduction to Step Astrology will go live in the Taurus season. A full moon in Capricorn on Thursday will tear apart a major corporation, most likely, long-term plans maybe in your life, and what seemed like something you thought would never go away, goes away. And can you guess which three signs will experience the most collateral damage? I'll have that answer and the sign that gets off scot-free in today's episode. Greetings and blessings to you, my friends, galactic family, and earthly neighbors. Welcome to Namaste Today. I'm your host, Christopher Witecki, the Sensei to Serious Joy, here to be your cosmic guide and comedian, guiding you through the ascension process and beyond. And oh my gosh, y'all, there's a lot going on. For the first time ever in my life, I'm getting many reports from people that they are experiencing a significant consciousness shift. We're talking about brighter colors, being able to smell better, and in some cases, people really being able to forecast themselves in the future. And I have some stories to tell you during the episode. But first, our top step astrology headlines of the week. First of all, Monday on July 7th, Uranus is ingressing into Gemini. It's been 84 years since Uranus entered into Gemini. The last time innovations were in ideas and thinking led to new technologies, such as the nuclear bomb, the microwave, and the television. And all those turned out great, right? Well, we're back here again, and AI could be a trigger. On Thursday, July 10th, the full moon in Capricorn will close down businesses calling for new direction for business and or operations. This involves creating new actions, and this involves stepping away from old rules and inventing your own. I'll give you some highlights and tips on how to handle that. And then on Friday, July 11th, the Sun in Cancer will trine the North Node in Pisces at step 19. This means that by Friday, you are feeling the manifestation of the call, and you're now aligning it with your soul purpose. Our key question for the week is, am I feeling conclusive? Because we may be considering something extremely big, if you will, important as far as the end or the beginning of something. This is sort of like getting on your knee and asking someone to marry you. This is sort of like deciding to close down your business and start over. It's a big, big full moon decision. I'll give you some counseling as we get in. But before we get in the depths of chaos and this life-changing full moon in Capricorn, let's take a look at the week's moods, your zodiac weather, and a word from our sponsor.
Are you a practitioner looking to move your life's work into the spotlight? Do you have that special magic that makes you stand out? Serious Joy is now auditioning for its new Practitioner of the Week segment on Namaste Today. Sensei Christopher is looking to highlight qualified lightworkers with a promo short dedicated to raising awareness about your gifts. Interested? Contact Jenny at adintuitive.com to apply for an audition and get ready to shake what your spirit gave you.
This week's show is sponsored by AdIntuitive, available at adintuitive.com. Are you ready to step into the spotlight and share your gifts with the world? AdIntuitive is looking for talented lightworkers and spiritual practitioners to audition for Namaste Today's Practitioner of the Week promotion. If you're interested in being featured and expanding your reach to a wider audience, reach out at jenny@adintuitive.com or scan the QR code for how to apply, audition, and any other information. We look forward to hearing from you. Well, friends, it's an interesting time right now in our planets and transits. The planets have come to a place that will regard or end up with a major transformation of power. Now, this transformation of power began, I would say, right before COVID in 2020, when Saturn and Pluto conjoined at the exact same degree in Capricorn, which is a rare event in history, but in Capricorn meant sort of the cracking of the foundation. I called it Jackhammer January that month. That was why I used to have cute names for the month like that. And since then, we've seen a lot of crack in power happening. Now, what's also happening is the transformation of people. As I mentioned in the open, I have seen people widening, opening up, seeing new powers coming in. People who are never psychic or intuitive, they're just noticing these things. It's just like they literally have awakened to see a different part of their consciousness. So I'm seeing the awakening happening. I'm seeing ascension happening. And we're going to see this week a shift in power. Now, you may or may not see it this week, but sometimes it's right on the dot. What it comes from is a full moon in Capricorn at step 18. This full moon is one that is going to jackhammer really the operations of certain things that are in the way. That's basically the way to look at it. So, our operations are our business, right? And so there's going to be a change of how people want to do business. A change that is because they want to feel better in their life. Now, the sun's in Cancer. So what we're trying to do right now is build a new emotional foundation. But that change in business, that change in how we do our business, or that change, a major change in how you decide or what you decide for, is what the week builds up to. Let's talk about, however, what the week is about at large with Cancer. We call this week Meditating on Stunned Silence. That stunned silence deals with a void of courses that we have this week. Very long void of courses. We have like 36-hour, 48-hour. One void of course is over 2 days, which is rare. If you don't know what a void of course is, it's sort of when the moon is free from other planet influence. Most of the time the moon is like zipping around the earth. Remember, all human motions come up to the moon and they bounce back to Earth. So the moon actually is a part of our emotional field, and that keeps us in awareness. As the moon goes in front of a sign, it takes the signed energy, and then when it bounces the emotional energy back to Earth, it's including the sign. So we're getting all this emotional sign filters, and we're getting the bounce back of who we are. When it's a full moon, it's a full bounce back. 100% all emotions bounce back. Now, the void of course is the times where the moon is not connected to Jupiter and the other planets, and is just free to roam. So the net event is you are there left with yourself quietly to really feel who you are. You're left to feel your truth, and there's no other influences on you in that time period. So that's why we say stunned silence. We feel like in most voided courses, things feel really quiet. Like no one's online, nothing's happening, people aren't clicking on their phone. They just can't find people. It feels dead. You go in the grocery store, it's dead. You go on the road, it's dead. Where's everybody? That's a voided course. Everyone's sort of feeling at home like, not knowing what to do, or kind of just staring into space. So ultimately, this is, I think, a huge influence on people getting to the truth of who they are, because without the influence, without distraction, if you want to put it that way, you really get to the truth of how you feel. And I believe that people are going to be, in some cases, releasing codependence, and that's what our subtitle is. Our subtitle of the week is Releasing Emotional Codependencies. Or codependences, however should we put it. And this, of course, you're probably familiar with. This is where your emotional well-being and their emotional well-being are caught in each other. So you're constantly, helping them, they're helping you. And so none of you go neither of you go anywhere because you're constantly trading emotional care. And this is, basically what we've been with for a long time now, a lot of relationships and whatnot. And in some cases, I mean, in most cases, it holds you back. I mean, we want to be to a sovereign place. We want to be able to nurture our own feelings and stand tall in our own energy. Yes, people can help, and yes, I like to help, but we don't live our whole life, needing each other in that way. We like to need each other for each other's dreams, our personal dreams, the exciting stuff, not being able to survive. And all this is part of upgrading out of our survival and upgrading out of this old, condition of the age we are coming out of, the age of Pisces, still raveled in age of Aries concepts. So the key question of the week is, am I feeling conclusive? Conclusive. And the reason why that is because the moon is in Capricorn at that time. And it's also because we're going to be making a major decision, because our job now is to create a new emotional foundation in Cancer. This foundation, by the way, is what was installed in you when you were a child, how your parents treated you or whatever, create an emotional kernel, all right, that kernel of how life is. You defined home that way. Home is this feeling. Now, for most of us, that feeling was based on our past lives, based on our karma, based on all the things we had to learn. And as I mentioned, we have been clearing all that out now. So our current home we come from, the current emotional foundation you live in every day, how you feel every day, is not good enough, that's the best word, good, to handle your dreams. It was good enough for you to handle healing yourself in the last 10,000 years of karma, but it's not good enough to take your vibration higher, and it's not good enough to ascend. We have to be taken care of even better. One way to look at this is, for those who are, lucky enough to have wealth, well, they're taken care of very well. Like, they don't have to work hard maybe to get dinner. They don't have to clean their house. They don't have to bend over, lift weights. Like, they don't have to do a lot in that sense because they just have people everywhere to take care of them. Things are sort of automated. People are thinking for them and caring for them. And so everything is just sort of like walking on a cloud. Well, you could say that's what we have to build too. We must build this emotional foundation, and we must create this foundation to care for ourselves at that sort of level where we feel we are walking on a cloud and where our feelings are always feeling good or great, right? So that said, am I conclusive? Am I feeling conclusive? Comes from the idea that ultimately we're going to have to snip away the parts of our life and daily business that interfere with this walking on a cloud. We have to get rid of the things that drag us down. We have to get rid of the things and the commitments that keep us distracted or keep us away from things. And trust me, you're not going to have to work too hard to see what they are. You know already what's in the way. You know already what you wish you didn't have to deal with. And so what you want to be conclusive about is if those things can go. Do you feel like you can cut them away and they'd be fine? Do you feel like you can go on without them? Do you feel like it's really making you better? Honestly, every relationship you're in ought to bring the best out of you and also call for the best out of you to appear. So in a right relationship, as far as the way it works, there's genuine love between the two of you. And I'm talking between colleagues, between friends, between any kind of situation. There's love between the two of you. I'm not talking romantic love. I'm just talking about you love that person, and that person calls for you to be better somehow. And you call for them to be better, and both want to be the things that are better. That's the other thing. It's not that I say to someone, you should be better. It's that you just around me feel like you should try harder. It doesn't have to be communicated. That's the dynamics of real Aquarian connection. So we're going to be cutting away and making decisions, and you have to be conclusive about it. And being conclusive about it is, without a doubt, this should go, and you will feel better. Some people will do this on their own. Some people will be forced to quit after this full moon. Some people find out their company is closing or relocating. People find out that their marriage is not going to go on. So for some, it will be a shock and you'll be forced. And in that case, follow that sign. If something which you consider negative happens, realize it's absolutely destined. And you probably wouldn't have done it unless someone moved the hand, did it for you. And in some cases, it's hard to believe that that's going to be okay. But the truth of the matter is you got very comfortable there, and you were unwilling to grow, and so the universe had to push you out and make you swim. So let's look at the planets and transits literally that's going to be happening this week and understand the arcs that we're going to live. We're in the sign of Cancer. Cancer is the I feel state of awareness. It is the foundation of your life, as Cancer is the fourth house in the astrology chart. Everything grows in life out of your feelings. Everything grows out of your feelings. Everything does. Really, it's love and then feelings. But love doesn't have the strength of feelings and the power of feelings. Every human being has an emotional field that bounces off other human beings' emotional field. Emotions are really how we actually communicate. Emotions are how a pack of some animal can communicate. There's a subtle emotional feelings going between them, and they are reading each other's emotional feelings. This is why it's not a good thing to be emotionally shut down or be on medication that makes you numb or take drugs that makes you numb, because you literally are unplugged from your social network. Your social network is emotional. So as we go through Cancer this week, we go from step 13 to step 19 Cancer. And this is the part of how you bounce off of other people's emotions. That's what this decan is. Step 13, which by the way is the United States birthday. Okay, step 13, the United States is a birthday. Let me say happy step birthday to the United States this week. I'm real proud of us for keeping it going and trying to keep the original vision going. And I believe we're going to make it. We're going to make it there. Yay, woo! Now, step 13 is a revolutionary step, which means come Saturday, after this airs, it'll be step 13, means your heart will believe something, and that means you're going to belong probably somewhere else. So if you've been thinking about, a job that's weighing you down, does your heart believe you have something out there greater? Does your heart believe that you can do it on your own? Does your heart believe that something that you never seen before in life would come out and be there for you? Yes, your heart does. Well, then you belong quitting. You belong moving on. That's where you belong. So I think the wake-up call is Friday, and by the following Friday, okay, the wake-up call is Saturday. Friday night, Saturday, really, that step day. And then the following Friday, when we're on the air here, it's step 19 Cancer, which means you're now moving towards that direction and basically creating that home that will support that legacy. Of course, we have the full moon in Capricorn along the way. I'll talk about that later. Jupiter in Cancer moves from step 5 to step 7, which means our belief structure is changing about how we ought to be believing with ourselves. And we go this week from what your mind thinks you should feel and what you define peace as and what you define tranquility and sovereign and spiritual is. So how you define, how your mind interrupts with feelings, how you define peace, and how you define connection to spirit, those emotions, they're going to get grander. You're going to have more ideas about what those are. Then zipping over to Aries, where we have a shift load of stuff going on. Saturn is staying at step 1 Aries, step 2 is at step 2, but has retrograded. And what that means is Saturn is our responsibility. God is saying take responsibility for self-love. Neptune is saying and feel it. Now Neptune has retrograded, which means you might have to work a little harder to tune into your feelings for the intuitive side. They've sort of retracted, and this is making you learn how to walk and how to request rather than the planets having to push. And Chiron moves from legendary 26 to step 27. Chiron, which is the healing agent, means that you are all healed now, and your capacity to go ahead and devote to something. Many people have devoted to something and then failed. Almost everyone on the earth. And so the next time you get devoted to another idea, you are afraid. You're afraid to do it because you don't want to make it screwed up again. You're afraid to get married to an idea. So we're now healed. That's been erased this week. And then your fears of actually getting started are also beginning to heal. So the runway is being set, folks, for this manifestation. Now let's look at the emotional tone of the week and the moon and what will happen. On Saturday and Sunday, the moon is in Scorpio for most of the day. That means that we are going to be emotionally finding where the line is and where we're comfortable at that time. So, on that revolutionary day with the moon in Scorpio, both you believing something and the moon in Scorpio, you can feel where it ends, you can feel it dying, and some will kill it off right there. You'll just kill off your emotional attachment to it and just go on. On Sunday, you wake up to that killing, if you will. I shouldn't use that word, but should never say should, say could. We could, cut it off and enjoy that killing, but we could say or feel free when we wake up, feeling cut and free, able to do what you want to do, emotionally independent is the word I'm looking for. And then the moon moves into Sagittarius, so come Sunday night, you are dreaming about the future. You're feeling the new dream, and we're sort of caught in that dream. It's almost like a 3-day musical sequence in a movie on Monday and Tuesday. So it's all about dreaming, it's all about planning, it's all about learning Monday, Tuesday, and early Wednesday. Come Wednesday night, however, Capricorn moon means we get cold, and we're now in the buildup of the full moon in Capricorn. And that full moon in Capricorn, of course, is ruled by Saturn. Remember what Saturn really is? A saw. Those blades are sharp. Those Saturn rings are sharp. And what Saturn does and what Capricorn does is cut something so they can throw one half away and make profit off it, and the other half they can make even higher profit off it. So energetically, we basically are preparing to kill off a part of our life Wednesday night and emotionally preparing all the way to Friday. The full moon is on Thursday, by the way. Then by Friday night, when the show's on, the moon's at Aquarius, and we're feeling like we're in another world. Some other planets to be in consideration of, and very important, in Gemini, Venus. In Gemini and Venus, we have Venus now in Gemini, which is a nice headline, which means now we're starting to open up and accept and receive a new way of thinking about ourselves. It's one thing to say, oh, I could do this, I could do that, I could do this. It's another to say, okay, I'm going to start practicing that. So we open up, we start practicing a new way of talking to ourselves, a new way of responding to ourselves. If you don't know, we teach at seriousjoy.com that you must be what you seek to come. And to be the vibration of what you seek to come, you've got to be able to have all states of awareness in the same alignment. And so Venus is helping us to open up and bring our thoughts into alignment, because our thoughts can be often the biggest disruptor. Now Uranus in the top of Gemini is the biggest disruptor. It's really interesting. As Uranus is at 29 and moves into zero. Actually, that's not correct. Oh, it starts. Oh, I see. It's right here. Gotcha. Uranus rules from 29 Taurus to 0 Gemini. That's what I was confused. It was under Gemini, which means that there's sort of like this feeling that something could fall apart. You might have a fear that it's in Taurus, so usually it happens in weird ways. Like, is this bridge solid? Like, is this elevator going to snap? There's kind of questions like that of will there be doom and gloom. The truth is, it could be doom and gloom if it was applied in a certain time. But right now, we've gotten all that kind of karma stuff out of us. We don't have these repressed emotions and these fears about our past. So we're not really likely to manifest any kind of doom right now for those who've done the work. The ones who would have some sort of doom would be those who did none of the work and ignored completely. But Uranus at 29 Taurus does mean that we are prepared to reinvent the wheel. Like, really. And that's the energy that we had in World War II, where we had certain issues around physical material. We had certain material things in life that were in the way, and we just found a way over it, right? So Uranus is at 29, and then Uranus goes to 0 Gemini. And so what that means is once Uranus is at 0 Gemini, you feel very electric. You're going to feel, and I can't remember what it was like in World War II, although I was alive during the time. It feels very electric. It feels energetically, what the Spirit's telling me is you kind of feel excited like something's about to happen all the time. And it's going to be important to develop, ways to turn off the mind with Uranus and Gemini. A lot of mind stuff going over the top. We'll talk more about that as it progresses. It does mean, however, a new mindset entirely. So it'd be very difficult to think about the old way. I wouldn't be surprised if something happens that we just can't unsee. Something might happen in the media that we just can't unsee. And that serves the purpose of just rebooting the mind. But Uranus at 0 is like a reboot of the mind. I just can't believe it, is what you're going to be saying. Now, Mercury, as far as the mind is concerned, is actually up in the sign of Leo. So Mercury in Leo is, our mind is really on getting what we love. Mercury goes from step 9 to step 13, Leo, this week. That means we'll be thinking about what to do for us, what to do for love. And then we'll start to analyze, are we really loving our current life? Are we really loving what we do every day? Do we love it when we wake up? Do we love it when we see this person? Do we love it? And you have to love it. I mean, that's the way the Earth's designed. If you don't love it, you're in old school territory. Now, looking into Virgo, in Virgo, we have Mars, and this is kind of part of the difficulty right now. Mars in Virgo makes our ego bounce off of life and what it has become. You have to understand, though, it's what it has become, not what it will become, all right? So your Mars is up against everything you have built yourself into. Mars is sort of, creating pathways and blazing trails when it comes to your daily life becoming something better. So from step 10 to step 13 means an evaluation of your daily life, evaluation of your heart in your daily life, evaluation of ego's desires in daily life. And so basically, if Mars is impatient and wants something to do, wants something interesting to do, and so it's very likely you'll be extremely bored and somewhat frustrated with Mars in Virgo because the Virgo energy is like not allowing you to miss any details. And so it sort of feels like you're in traffic and you're literally counting the lines, like 1, 2. But by the end of the week, there's breakthrough. So Mars hits 13 Virgo the same time that we have gone through a revolution ourselves, and we're not ready to manifest. So remember, in the July 4th, and happy birthday, United States, we're ready to change our life. The next Friday, Mars is ready to pick up a jackhammer and actually start doing it. So now the South Node goes from 21 degrees to 20, which means the North Node in Pisces also goes from 21 to 20. And this indicates that we're going to change our story, 21. So the story about our future changes officially. And then we move to step 20, where we are spiritually holding space at 20. For Pisces, we're holding space for this new spiritual story. Holding space means, I don't know, I know it's going to happen. I'm just going to protect and wait for this person or this thing or the situation to magically, show up. And so that holding space means it's anything and everything, but also means that the future that was is now wasn't. And that means we have officially cut the ties to the old future. Bubbling up like a crude of oil is Black Moon Lilith at step 11. Their fears that will come up will be around personal integrity. In other words, am I in integrity if I do this? If I pick up and go to California, I pick up and go to this place, am I in integrity with myself? And so what you are doing is you are remembering times in past lives where you were not in integrity or accused of not being in integrity. It doesn't have to be you done it, just be you're abused about it. And so expect yourself to question, is this the right thing? Now, of course, you should, and you could, and you ought to with your emotions. So the answer to are you doing the right thing is your feelings, not your mind, because right now, as of course, we are no longer in a territory where the mind has any memories from the past of what we're about to do. Hear that again. The collective consciousness has never experienced what we're about to experience. Therefore, the mind has no answers. The mind has no data. There's nothing to look at. Unless, of course, you can open up your past life in Atlantis or Lemuria, then your mind might be able to assemble some details. But I'm seeing that as a slow progress, not a fast one. What do? You feel your way through it. Just like Lewis and Clark felt their way through, the North American landscape. Any person who's on an adventure feels their way through it. They don't know, they feel it's that way. And that comes from your psychic abilities and your divine intelligence. Then, of course, we have Pluto. Pluto finally switching step numbers this week. Pluto's been protecting step 3, I believe, for some time now. So we really focused on, making sure that we don't let go of our belief in ourselves, that we believe in ourselves more than anyone believes in ourselves, and staying true to that belief. Now that Pluto moves to step 2, it means it's time to safeguard how you feel about yourself. After all, that's what's happening in Cancer. You're learning how to feel differently about yourself, and therefore you feel differently about your life, and therefore you feel differently about your future. If you come from a good home, if you come from the home that raises you to be conscious of your feelings and to be compassionate to yourself. So Pluto is saying you must now protect these values and your feelings. You must now be the guardian to make sure that you don't get emotionally upset. In other words, you may not blame the world. If you blame the world for how you feel, you will be having a hard time because Pluto there is going to cause, chaos. You're not really fitting in with the new dynamic, so it's going to turn into trouble all the time. Pluto will draw in trouble or push it away. It's up to you. So if you are taking responsibility for how you feel on your own, independently, you're going to be in a good place. Don't let anyone interfere with it. If, however, you are open and you're just sort of bobbling between events and you're allowing everything to emotionally beat you up, be careful because that is on a delete kind of path. The universe will be deleting those stories going on in the future. All right, well, now I think it's time to talk about you. We're going to take a little commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to have your soul horoscopes.
Audio Jungle.
We were told the world works a certain way. Chase success, play the game, follow the rules. But what if the game is rigged? What if your power was never really lost, just misplaced? Soul Capitalist isn't just a book, it's a wake-up call, a roadmap for reclaiming your power and rewriting your story on your own terms. Because changing the world doesn't start with a movement. It starts with you. It starts with creating a world that reflects your highest self. Soul Capitalist is a guide back to your truth, a call to awaken your inner power and lead from the light within. Soul Capitalist, how to take back your power and change the world. Available now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble.
Hello, welcome to Soul Horoscopes, the part of the show that started my legacy 19 years ago, doing horoscopes for everyone on YouTube. This is the part of the show everyone loves because we'll do your horoscope and talk about what's going on for you this week. But first, back to We Open. Can you guess which 3 signs will experience the most collateral damage from this full moon? The answer is Geminis, Leos, and Libras. And the one that will get the most obvious change out of it and probably benefit the most, Capricorns, actually. Capricorns, because they don't change, and when the emotions help them, then they change and they move quickly. So without further ado, let's talk about the 12 signs and what they're going to do. What I'm going to talk about this week is what the Sun in Cancer is bringing for you, where you're building a new emotional home to come from. We'll talk about Uranus moving to Gemini for the first time in history, our history anyways, and what it's going to mean for you and your sign. And lastly, the full moon in Capricorn, where will you be making a radical decision in the full moon, which is on Thursday. The Uranus goes in Gemini on Monday, by the way, and the Sun's already in Cancer. Starting with Aries. Aries, of course, you are the natural born of the Zodiac, and so you are literally building a new home and family and foundation. You might be moving and relocating right now to an environment that feels better. Let's also remember that some parts of the earth feel a certain way and some parts of the earth feel a different way. in the last few years. You've changed the way you feel about yourself, so therefore you might change what you plug into. You want to follow your feelings more than anything. Try not to look at price or look at the cost. That's the same thing basically. Or look at how the kids might not be happy, because honestly, you know best as a leader of your life. You know what feels best, and it's up to you to listen to your feelings to make that decision. So one thing you must do, however, is give yourself a blank slate when it comes to how you feel. It may not be the same in this next era. In other words, if you used to feel you hated being in the city, that might not be the case now. If you used to feel that you can't deal with an extra room in the house, maybe you feel differently now. So you're going to feel differently. I think that's what you need to understand. And lastly, it's important to feel good because of your career. It's your career that's going to be changing, and so you must feel good how to put it? Feel good about yourself. Well, let's do it again. Feel good about yourself, and feel good about your life. That's the goal of this transition with the sun in Cancer. Feel your way through it. Now, Uranus in Gemini means for you that you're going to have radical new thinking, literally. So you're going to find that you just don't think the same way. You're going to find that your mind completely reverses on something that you used to be so adamant about. You know how they say never? Well, those nevers may come up to be a now, right now in this process. And you may find that you are you also may find that you're interested in talking to someone that you had cut off prior, someone that you had ghosted or something. So you might find that you are redeveloping communication with someone, or redeveloping your thoughts about something. Your thoughts about yourself are also changing. You might have thought that you were never capable of this, or thought you were never capable of that, but now suddenly you think you might be. And I have to say, for the next 8 years or so, with Uranus and Gemini, think twice, think 3 times, think 4 times. If you want to get closer to the answer faster, then go with your feelings and let your feelings lead the way. The full moon for you will affect your policy and operations for your career and legacy. In other words, you may find that you get laid off. If that's the truth, it's a good thing. You may find that your company shuts down and everyone is let go. You may find that your job title changes, or that you are now going to go to a new department. Or you may find that you are done, you want to quit this job, you want to move on, and this will be the time to do it. So the full moon will give you the way if you give in to what your heart wants. The key point is, whatever you're going for, your heart has to endorse this. If your heart's not excited, you're doing the wrong thing. Excited, okay? Not excited in the sense of can't sleep, but excited in the sense of can't wait. All right. Taurus, you with the sun in Cancer are changing the way you think. And that's because your feelings are qualifying a new way of thinking. Or certain thoughts just make you feel icky. You feel bad when you think about that way. You feel icky when you feel about that another way. And so what you are doing now is you're creating an emotional tone for yourself in life that allows you to think clearly all the time. Your thoughts are filtered by your feelings. And I think Tauruses are somewhat very logical. And feeling for them usually is only when they're off work. And they don't necessarily use their feelings, I think, when they're on work. I think Tauruses try to be professional and try to block out their feelings. But the problem is blocking out your feelings blocks out your truth and your access to deep data inside your mind. So you must be emotionally present with every thought. You must pay attention to how every thought feels, and be using your feelings to monitor whether your thoughts are off. Even when I'm on set here and I'm about to make a mistake, I can feel I'm about to make a mistake right before the mistake happens. So there's a feeling for everything, and there's also a feeling behind words. Plus, as a manifester, naturally, you'll manifest bigger things if you include feelings in your thoughts. Now that said, Uranus in Gemini means you're about to innovate your business and your self-worth. Tauruses are going to spend the next 7+ years innovating how they make money and what they do. What comes to mind is Henry Kaiser, who was a Taurus during the World War II period when Uranus was in Gemini. And what he did was build shipyards and build ships faster than anyone could think. Now, after it was over, his business is now called Kaiser Permanente, which is just the hospital section of that shipbuilding. So it's that kind of innovative thinking you can expect. Basically, Tauruses, we're looking to you to basically invent it, and we're looking to you to invest in your ideas that lead you to greater prosperity, which actually ups what a definition of abundance is. So you're going to literally innovate what value is on the planet. Now, that said, the full moon has to do with your life's purpose. You had one or more purposes that are no longer going to be on purpose. You're going to let a purpose go. You're going to find that purpose served you during the time, and you'll probably think that you would never have changed your mind. This would never have happened when it was so solid and true. So I guess I could say I'm giving you permission to walk away from something that's been important your whole life. If your heart's not in it, you're not going to win it, so why bother? So allow yourself to let go of that purpose. Take it off your list for things to do. You've got better, more exciting things coming around the corner. All right. Gemini, you are focusing on, with the sun in Cancer, your personal abundance. Overall, you are a person who, if you feel valuable, you make money. If you don't feel valuable, you don't make money. And so yourself being emotionally calm and being positive and thinking about what you have instead of focusing on what you don't, not allowing yourself to wallow to the dark side of the moon where you feel bad about this or bad about that or bad that you don't have opportunity. You don't realize those feelings literally affect your wallet and keep you from being productive. And they slow you down with your ability to get things done. A lot of Geminis I know cannot get it done because they cannot nurture their feelings well enough. You have, after all, Virgo that rules your emotional foundation. So you get really stuck in detail and stuck in little facts that don't matter when it comes to your ability to make money. So you are learning to nurture your feelings and come from a good home, so to speak, and feel good about yourself so you can manifest the money you deserve and the return you're looking for. Now, that said, this Uranus and Gemini for you is going to be a hell of a trip. It's going to be hard at first, I have to be honest with you. This is going to be a time where you are thrown off. You're thrown off your way of walking and doing things. You're going to find that the old way of doing it just doesn't work anymore. You're going to find I always used to do it this way, and now it doesn't work anymore. You used to maybe be very motivated for something. Now you're not motivated. Really, the universe is trying to say that it's time to increase your efficiency and to get your actions and your responses on the right path. So I do think that Uranus and Gemini is going to be difficult, and I'll be here with you the whole step of the way, all in the next 7 years. Hang on there. Hang on. Now, that said, the full moon is going to affect you a little bit more difficult, make it a little more difficult for most of the signs. Like I said, you're going to be one of the most collateral damage. The reason for that is that the full moon is in the house of trust and intimacy, and so you're going to find that there's a huge breakdown in many things. Basically, boundaries are going to be broken. You might discover that someone has been unfair or cheated. You might also realize that something smelly is at work. In other words, someone's working against you or something's working against you. You may find suddenly that you're shut out of something. You may find yourself in the hands of a divorce. It's a lot, and it's going to have a lot of collateral damage. The reason why it's going to have a lot of damage and break things is because all those things were associated to one sort of policy about trust or one sort of policy about boundaries that you frankly were using too long. It was overrated, and you were trying to keep something old going anyways. Maybe you're afraid of the change or whatever, but God, universe is going to push you in the pool, and you'll find out that you can swim, but it won't be fun to be wet in those clothes. So hang in there, nurture yourself. You've got to get through the emotional side of it because otherwise you won't be worth what you're worth, right? Feelings equate to money. All right. Leos, you are focusing on your relationship to spirit right now and the incorporation of spirit into your life. And you feel God, you feel the universe, you feel the karma of others, you feel it all. This is probably how kings and queens back in the day knew that they were, when they were talking to someone, that they're full of shit or not. They could feel it. They could feel their karma. They could feel what's going on. You have feeling of knowledge, but you have your own cloud of feelings too. And because you've had karma in that same space, karma has prevented you from feeling really good about things and using your feelings to guide you. I mean, Leos out of everyone are guided through their feelings about things. So when a Leo feels something is off, it's off. But unless you clear that karma around your feelings and clear the damage and the pain and let it go and forgive, you're not going to have a clear signal to your intuition. This is working towards a new spiritual mission, by the way, which you'll experience when Jupiter goes into Leo next year. You're going to be reborn, if you will. You have a total makeover of your personality and your willpower. And so this is you getting really emotionally acquainted with the right path and separating from the wrong path. Now, this week, what you're working on with emotions is perhaps what you want to cut, perhaps people that are not working out in your life, perhaps maybe a trend that you no longer want to follow in yourself. And so the Uranus and Gemini, you should know, is also putting pressure on your place in society. It's now time to elevate to your proper place in society. What keeps you from elevating are keywords, basically. You've associated yourself with all sorts of labels and keywords and titles, and as a result, you've drowned in sort of stale ideas about your life, and you'll probably feel very stale about your place in the world. At the same token, if you're an influencer or someone who is well known for something, you'll find that your celebrity sort of wear off. People are getting kind of tired with who you are, and they're getting tired of the ideas and things you're saying. So it's a moment where Leo can go down in their pride if they're not careful, but just recognize how far your career has grown with Uranus and Taurus, incredibly so. You can expect your relationship to society to also grow as well and just as much, but the first stages of this are recognizing where you don't belong, where you pushed yourself too far, where that public or that market doesn't really want you. And so you have to first deal with a lot of rejections and also face the truth that in some cases you were after it for power. You weren't after it because your heart loved it. So you could say that Uranus in this space is going to kill off anything you don't love. And the full moon for you, Leo, and I mentioned that you are also having one of the hardest, has to do with lifestyle. You're going to have a major lifestyle change. If there's anything that you have avoided quitting, because quitting is a big part of it. We do tend to do things that aren't healthy for us as Leos. We feel like we are royal. We have the right. I have a Leo rising, so I can speak for Leo. And so you'll probably have something quit. It's possible that if your job is toxic, you'll get fired or laid off or something like that. It's also possible that some sort of big client you've had forever that's been sustaining your business goes as well. So expect some uncomfortable and sometimes pride-hurting issues to happen. But once you get past that and once that's gone, trust me, you're going to feel relief. Virgos! Virgos, you are now working on your social ambition. And you base all of your ambition on emotion. Now, most of the time, you've looked at that from the perspective of how you feel from others and how you try to help other people feel better about themselves. So the emotional part of your place in society has mostly been based on the people you help, not based on who you are. In fact, you quite often have chosen things in society that don't feel good. Or you've hung around people that you don't feel like you are connected to them. Or you have done projects and been associated things that you don't emotionally like. And so you go home and you hide to recharge your batteries rather than recognize that you're aiming for the wrong thing in life because it doesn't feel right. When you start to aim for the right thing that feels the right way to you, you feel good about it, you feel good in that place, then your success in society will begin to unfold. Your reputation will rise. And the fact that you feel good in the public means you attract people who feel good. So if you've attracted a lot of angry customers and bitter vendors and all that sort of thing, it was a reflection of how you felt. So it's important for you to feel good about everything, period. That's the way it must be. And, think of it as a philosophy, because your emotions pretty much follow a philosophy with Sagittarius in what we call the fourth house. So you're building a new, emotional home. You're going to look at society as a different type of home. You want to aim for a society and a friendship that nurture you, that make you feel nurtured, and avoid any of the sacrificial stuff you've been doing. That said, Uranus in Gemini is going to be phenomenally interesting because what it means is you're going to see a huge energetic jump in your career and legacy. That's right. You're going to find that your career legacy now move quickly. And the first thing that happens is the removal of what's in the way. So I remember this period myself. It was the beginning of 2016. I relocated states. I changed my brand a bit. I changed my content style. I changed the way I shot content. I mean, it was a huge change. And for me, it was the beginning of a whole chapter of Serious Joy, where I started to build out the insides of it and the features of it instead of just doing the horoscopes and the commitment. So Uranus in Gemini is going to bring you up in your career, but expect for the things that don't work to collapse in the first part of it. Now, that said, the full moon in Capricorn for you, Virgo, is going to be around personal dreams. Your heart might still be attached to the one that got away. Your heart might be still attached to some personal dream that was just out of scope. Or perhaps you're trying to have it all too fast. You want it all, but you can only do it one at a time. So the full moon is going to make some sort of heartfelt thing that your heart's just been tied to and your heart's been in love with. You're going to realize it's just not in anymore. It's just not working. And that's okay. Let it go because it's leaving room for what will work. Promise you that. All right. Libras, you'll be working on the Cancer season, of course, your career and legacy. And similar to Virgos, you've often chosen your career by where you can make others feel good. You haven't chosen careers or legacies that make you feel good. You've always been passive, put yourself last, and that time is over. Now, this will be more difficult than others because, the collateral damage might be at home. We'll talk about that. But emotionally, it means it's time to aim for what feels good. If you feel good about it, that's the right direction. If you feel really good about it, it's absolutely the right direction. Now, here's what's hard. It may not be rational. It may not be logical. It may not make sense. And most likely, the people around you are going to say, you're crazy. And so you're going to have to probably threaten your reputation and connection to other people in order to do what's right for you. Now, of course, this is what's been holding you back the whole time, Libra. Is being so worried about how other people will feel. You're not here for other people. You're not. You're here for yourself. The fact that you help people is just your job. But it's not what you're here for. You're here for what you want, what feels good for you, for what you want to experience in life. So it's important that you go with your feelings this whole week and let your feelings be the ruler of your decisions. Now, that said, as you move into this Uranus in Gemini, it's going to be interesting for you because it means that your life purpose and your belief in yourself is about to go up. Oh, sure, you believe in yourself and you've gone very far. But honestly, in the scale of who you'll be in this lifetime, right now you're still a junior. Right now you're still an adolescent because Uranus hasn't gone through the space. You've been thinking on old world terms, and terms that are based on your past lives. But it's not based on your potential. So you could say that your beliefs about yourself change based on your potential, which is what you really believed all along. But because you're a Libra and you're good at rationalizing things, you've went ahead and settled for what you didn't have. So Uranus is going to be disruptive in a very good way for you for the next few years. Now, that said, also, it's important to look at this full moon. This full moon will be some sort of a breakup at home. Perhaps you've been living with someone that is family, you've been tolerating them, but they're toxic. Perhaps The house you live in is toxic. Perhaps the landlord you deal with is toxic. Something is in the way at home and family. Something is causing disruption and insecurity, and that is going to have to stop. It will be forced to stop. This isn't one of those moons that's like, oh, if you get around to it, if you want to. No, this is because it's in Capricorn. Everyone else's changes in life are going to affect you because you're connected to everyone. So as you see your boss go down and this go down, that go down, you'll realize you're going down too. And I think you'll finally surrender and give into it. It's for your greater good, trust me on this. And it may mean a bit of a heartbreak, and it may mean opening up the worms of your pain from your past. But if you do find pain from the past in childhood, it should have been gone a long time ago. Let it go, heal, and move on. Scorpio! Scorpio, you are working on your life purpose and mastery this week, getting your beliefs in order and really being honest with yourself about what you feel and you believe. You're going to find that a lot of things that you once said and believed in are now changed. So it's just really you catching up with your catalog of changes is what's happening. You used to believe in this, you believe in that, but now that so-and-so's in office or now this is happening, you don't believe it anymore. You don't feel good about it. And so getting clear with what you feel feel good about and what you can't feel good about is the essence of what this has to be. Feel good about these things and follow that good path. And also follow the path of learning. Make sure you are learning stuff you feel good about, again, and you're exploring stuff you feel good about. No sacrifices right now, Scorpio. Follow your feelings. They will tell you and carry the way. Now, the Uranus moving into Gemini is going to be, I think, difficult for you at first. That's because you're going to have to change why you trust things inside yourself. Mostly you've trusted things because you were avoiding bad things from happening. You made certain rules in your life because you had a policy that would lead to safety and whatnot. You're going to find that those policies inside yourself are now keeping you from what you need to do. That those boundaries were set in a time when you're worried about fight or flight. Now you're worried about thrival and seeing the potential of what you can be. So be very, very flexible with boundaries that you thought would stay that way forever. The last thing to know is that your boundaries before were based on power and control. Now your boundaries are based on what your heart wants, where your heart belongs. And so it's sort of like that inner child wanting something kind of crazy. Normally you'd say, nope, not possible right now, let's be practical. But now you must find a way to protect that crazy idea and be stable. So it's an upgrade in your consciousness as far as your dimension of thinking when it comes to your boundaries. And this leads to sex, this leads to life changes, this leads to inheritance. You ever caught up, for instance, in a trial where you're trying to win back the inheritance that someone else in your family stole, which is very common for Scorpio. One of their freaking siblings will steal the pot or steal the inheritance. They go fight for it. I'll tell you that until you think differently about what you trust, you'll lose that. So if you want to inherit the things you deserve, think differently about where the line goes. The right line will feel safe. And lastly, this full moon is going to be a mind blow for you. You're going to have some sort of idea you've had forever, some sort of way of thinking you've had forever. You're going to realize it's wrong. It's no longer applicable. Yes, that was true in the 80s or the 90s or the 2000s, but sure as hell not true now. You may have to come out through a humiliation. That you say something you regret, bite your tongue, etc., and you start drilling down on that and you realize, oh my gosh, I really do think this way, don't I? It's so old school. Why am I this way? You're that way because it worked. You didn't change your mind because it made you strong. But now it's time to change your mind and be open to changing your mind from this point forward. All right. Sagittarius. Sagittarius, you are changing a lot of boundaries, and I think you will probably have tremendous change that the world may or may not see because it's in your house of sex, death, and taxes. You're going to change your feelings about maybe where you draw the line with a certain person. You may change your feelings to say, I once trusted this person, now I don't. You may change your lines to say, I just can't, allow myself to be affiliated with this person or this business or that. And so because of a change of feelings, you're going to do a shift in where the line is. Now, here's what I ask you as a person. Please tell the person what you're doing. Please don't ghost and just go away. It hurts the other person and keeps your karma alive. You have to treat the people you leave, even if they're bad and bad for you, with respect. And you have to feel how they may feel from the situation. So this isn't just about feeling good about a line. This is about when you draw a line, feeling good on both sides of the line, both on your side and the side you cut away from yourself. Otherwise, they'll be back and you'll have to draw the line again. I promise you that. Now, the Uranus in Gemini is going to be very interesting because Sagittarius are now going to innovate their partners in marriages and partnerships. They're going to innovate the way what they think about marriage and life is. I know a lot of Sagittariuses that are sort of determined they'll never get married. That might change. Your thoughts about everything might change. You might decide to be in a throuple. I don't know. But you're going to be thinking differently about yourself, thinking differently about partnership and marriage, thinking differently about your definition of balance. It first starts with you, and you're going to realize that a lot of thoughts about yourself actually work against you instead of for you. That'll be the first chapter of Uranus and Gemini, that the way you think about yourself is just not really modern. I'll put it that way. It's funny, too, because you are very sort of although you're fancy free and you're fun, you're really pretty conservative with yourself. That's why you can be so try anything when you're out in the public. And so now it's time to be a bit more innovative with yourself, and now time to try anything when it comes to managing yourself. That's the first chapter. Now, the full moon in Capricorn will likely be a radical, maybe surprising change in abundance. You might have a job end. You might have a client quit. You might have, the store burned down. I'm not trying to put negativity out to you, but it's time to let go of some sort of way of capitalizing on life. You just can't capitalize that way anymore. And so, you might, if you're doing anything illegal, I know this came to my mind spiritually, so someone out here watching this is, if you're doing anything illegal, be careful, because that sort of thing would likely be cut off because you have things to do. You're a big communicator when it comes to the age of Aquarius will be. We need you to be that buffer zone between people who don't understand and people who want to understand. So you really can't be doing anything you consider to be illegitimate or illegal. Now, the full moon in Capricorn, as I said, is going to be some sort of destruction energy like that. Just make sure you take advantage of Uranus and Gemini and think of yourself in new terms. All right. Capricorn! Capricorn, you're going to have some interesting changes in your marriage and partnership. It's now time to emotionally mature when it comes to relationships. And honestly, it can only be determined by you what that emotional maturity is. I've seen some Capricorns that are total babies when it comes to their marriage and partnership. And I've seen some Capricorns that are totally mature and they let their partner be the baby and they're just always fathering and mothering their partner. Your feelings end up feeling a certain way. You have to feel good about yourself, feel good about your life, and feel good about your marriage and partnership. And so this week you're going to be navigating emotional responses to yourself or your partners that bring out a different effect. So you're maturing in the way of maybe being honest about how you feel. Maybe you don't even talk about how you feel in your partnerships, and now it's time to include it. But it's time to up-res what's going to be and really go with what feels right. That means manage not logically, but emotionally. Now, that said, Uranus going into Gemini means you're about to change how you look at and think about life. Your way of thinking about life, starting with the body, has got to upgrade to a higher resolution. It's almost like you've got to find a thesaurus word or a synonym that means the same and more for what you're doing. And your thoughts about your body are not high vibration enough. I don't know what that means, frankly, but it means that you're not looking at your body in the proper terms. Keep in mind that I fully believe that we've been misled in the medical system. We've been misled particularly in Western medicine. And so you might just be waking up and realizing that you're better off with another kind of approach to medicine at large. But your body is going to be in a place where if your thoughts are negative, your body will get sick very quickly. Uranus is a breakdown agent, so it's not going to tolerate, you might have been getting away with a lot of things. You won't anymore. Uranus is going to say, that's not going to work for you. And why doesn't it work? Because your heart doesn't want it. Your heart doesn't belong with it. And you never asked your heart. You just did anyways, like you like to do. Now, the full moon in Capricorn, however, will make great benefit for you. It's going to be in your house of ego. And so your ego will have a minor death. It's going to kill off a part of yourself. Now, I hope and pray that it kills off because you've decided and been proactive. But if you weren't proactive, oh boy, you're going to do something in public, in front of somebody that they cannot unsee. All right? So one way or another, you're changing that ego, says God Universe, with this full moon. And you're going to change your behavior as well. You might be letting go of things like defensiveness or anger or having a chip on your shoulder. Those would be positive expressions of the same full moon. Either way, go with your feelings. Go with your feelings. Even if you're not in a relationship with someone in the public, you actually are. They're your brother or sister. So look at everyone as a partner. Look at everyone as someone that's important in your life and read those feelings to be the determiner of what to do. It'll make the breakdown of that ego much easier. All right. Aquarius. Aquarius, you are now changing your lifestyle and your performance, which is your feelings. So you are also supposed to navigate feeling better every moment. You are supposed to be living by your feelings in the moment. So how you feel at work, how you feel in the sports, how you feel in your body. But that's not how you've been living, is it? You've been living kind of detached. You have the ability to detach from anything at will, sort of like a turtle pulls its legs into the shell. In the same way, you pull your legs into the shell and just stay there waiting for the car or whatever the threat is to go by. Can't be that way anymore. You've got to feel the car. You got to feel the force. You got to feel your life, because if you don't feel your life, we won't connect to you. Humans communicate on an emotional level. If you're cold, I'm not going to be able to understand or even care to understand this crazy shift you're trying to tell me about how the universe is this and all that. We're just not going to listen to you because we don't feel you. We can't feel if you're telling us the truth or not. So recognize you are thwarting your own mission. You are shutting down our ability to connect to you if you don't bring feelings into the moment. You could say that going to acting school would be great. I think that's the best way to learn. Whenever people ask me, how do you learn about my emotions? Go to acting school. You learn to be an actor. You'll learn about feelings. You'll learn about projecting feelings. You'll learn about how you feel to project feelings. You'll learn all the magic of emotion in that certain case. So it's time to now move forward and innovate those feelings. Now, Uranus in Gemini is a very exciting thing for you because Uranus is saying, You know what your dreams, Aquarius, what you dream about? It's not big enough. You're not asking for enough. You're not aiming for enough love. You're not aiming enough to fall in love with yourself. You're very content with yourself. And that's not cool, says God Universe. It's time to actually love yourself, to fall in love with yourself, to be amazed about who you are. So your connection to your inner child is going to be what's most tormented. You're going to find that you are piss angry if you're not getting what you want. Your heart is going to throw a tantrum and be a nasty teenager to you if you are heading on the wrong path. Your heart's just not going to tolerate it anymore. And if you are all work and no play, not going to tolerate it anymore. And if you don't get your favorite thing at your birthday, not going to tolerate it anymore. You're going to find you just can't tolerate it. And it's your ruling planet we're talking about, so it will happen. There's no question of it. You have to follow your ruling planet. We have no choice. They are our king or our god, if you want to call it that. So you're going to be on good lifestyle, aiming after your dreams. What could this full moon do for you? Well, the full moon is actually going to help you in the sense of your perception of God Universe. You have some law, some perception about God that frankly is in the way. Nothing is ever wrong with spirituality, but this particular perception, your view of God consciousness, is going to be in the way, and it's going to be necessary for it to come tumbling down. So you might be like a devote something, like a Catholic or a Protestant, and just realize, nope, I'm giving that up. Or you might discover an alternative spirituality and start to run. Whatever the case is, you're not going to be the leaders and the innovators of the new world if you don't get in your feelings and open up to God on a new level. And then finally, the Pisces. Pisces, you are now getting into your dreams, your personal dreams. Much like Aquarius, we need the Pisces to dream. We need the Pisces to be on their path. We need to feel the excitement in your soul when we talk to you. We have to feel your inner child coming online. And so you are clearing the feelings that block your inner child, which means you have to absolutely be over your childhood and build this new childhood with the sun in Cancer. It also means that you have to follow your life based on what your heart feels would be the most fun. Most fun is the right way to go. All right. So the emotional in Cancer is using your feelings to decide what to do. Use your feelings to decide if you're bored or not. If you're bored, or if you're on board with the games and play, and start to let go of whatever feelings keep you from playing and having a good time. Now, Uranus in Gemini means to do this, you're going to have to up the care of your emotions. Your emotions are managed by your thoughts and mind. That's kind of Spock cold, if you want to use Star Trek. It's a detached feeling from your feelings, and I think a lot of ideas you have about feelings are incorrect. Much of the reason why you avoided feelings in the past is because you had so much debt and doubt and karma and bad shift and all these things that you're paying for in this life. And every Pisces comes, and the first thing they do is clear out all their past lives out of their earth consciousness. Now, that feeling of what that took and the feelings you had to face for that were ucky, we're not appropriate, we're uncomfortable. But now you want to go for feelings of thriving and not be afraid of feelings and use your feelings as a driving force to go forward. You can no longer treat your feelings the way you used to. In some cases, you've been using your mind just to block your feelings or argue with your feelings. Your feelings are more intelligent than your thoughts, far more intelligent and more connected to anything. So right now, as Pisces stand with just thinking about their feelings, you're locking yourself off from all of your intelligence. You're not coming from the right home. Einstein was very emotional. Read some stuff about him, but he's one of my favorite Pisces. And once he was in the right zone and felt super good, then he started downloading those great ideas. In fact, he talks about the times he came up with things, like when he was on the bus, he came up with this theory for, I think it is the whole point of the universe being relative. So funny how that happens. Now, that said, the big full moon is going to be with your social ambition and what you want to do in the world. You may, if you're really in denial and don't realize this, you might get booed off stage, something like that. Not fun. You might get canceled, as they say. But if you're proactive and you watch this channel, I don't feel it has to come to that sort of gravity or damage. You can just simply realize that something is over. Some connection to a friendship, connection to a town, connection to a group of people, quitting a club. You're disassociating yourself with certain things. Why? Because on the other side of that equation is the sun in Cancer, where you are going to be falling in love and doing fun things. So this full moon means that it's the end of something, of a reputation or a style or being in public a certain way, but it also means that the beginning of a new one is coming as soon as you get better acquainted with that inner child. All right, friends, that is our soul horoscopes for the week, and so happy to do that for you. Hope it helps you. We have changed the way we post it on YouTube now. It's all now one file, so it'll be easy to zip around between your different signs. I have to click. We're trying to reduce how much people click with and what people click do. All right, friends, that's all I have to say for this week. It's such a pleasure to be of soul service. I'll see you next week with more. Until then, have a great week. Master that full moon. And remember, I love you. Live, love, be.